what have you learned from your audience feedback? So we're going to start off with the first one, which is the feedback before our film was created. We asked people, where do you usually see film trailers? And about 70% of them saw them on TV, 60% of them on the internet, and just a third, 30%, 33% of them said they saw it at the cinema. So that was an interesting way of gauging how long we should make it. If it was going to be a cinema trailer, it would have been a theatrical trailer where it would have been a lot longer. TV, also the same thing. Internet depends. It depends on whether someone wants to go and search for a full trailer or not. Do you always watch the trailer before watching the film? And about 50% said yes, 50% said no, which was actually kind of surprising, because we thought that the trailer would have been a deciding factor, but obviously a lot of people just go and see a film on a whim, I guess. They just go turn up cinema and see what looks good, maybe from the poster. So the poster is obviously very important as well. So we then asked people what kind of character type they'd expect in the heist genre. And the most important ones were the brains of the group, which is what they thought they would see most. Then a rich target, a hard man, a sexy swindler, and a geek. The geek being the least of those. Heist trailer, how much the storyline do you want to be revealed? Most people said nothing, I want it to be a surprise, which we had to make sure that we couldn't show them nothing. We couldn't have a trailer where it was just showing us characters. We had to actually give them a bit. So the second most popular option was, I want to see the plan set up and see a bit of action, and that's what we went for. Which of these conventions do you think you'd see in a heist trailer? The ones that came up most were fast-cutting, upbeat music, and credits/actor names. Dynamic titles were also important. Voiceover and dip to black, not as important. Then we asked people, what mise-en-scene would you expect to see? And the main things that they wanted to see in a heist film were money, guns, expensive items, suits, suitcases, urban locations. We agreed with that as well. Would you expect there to be a degree of violence in the heist genre? Most of the votes went for yes, but not too much. Heists are subtle. I think this was the difference between the heist that they were thinking of and the heist we ultimately went for. We went for a financial heist, and there wouldn't be that much violence. So we then got our audience feedback after having people watch our film. So we asked people, one of the main questions that we wanted to know was, would you say that the trailer is recognizable of the heist genre? 90% of people said yes, so we thought that was a very good turnout. Most people recognized it was the genre, almost everyone. And the people who didn't maybe were expecting a different kind of heist trailer, but it's good to know that for the most part we made it, we subverted conventions, but we conformed to enough that people still recognize the genre. Did the music fit the heist genre? 80% of people said yes, so we felt that that went really well as well. Next question was, were our characters likable? And 100% of people said yes, they were likable. E.g., you wanted them to succeed. Everyone said yes. So they liked it, which obviously the idea of breaking the fourth wall clearly worked, because our audience feedback said that they basically trusted our characters, that they were likable, and they wanted to see them succeed. The next question was, did the trailer give you enough information about the film without giving away the plot? And 90% of people said yes, so we probably should have made that question more clear, so we would have known. For the people that said no, would they have preferred less information, or did we give away the plot? So in contrast to the people from our research that had said that most people preferred to not know anything, the amount we showed seemed to have been good enough for 90% of our respondents. Then we asked, what was the best part of the trailer? We made this an open-ended question, so we have panning scene in the cafe, we have Giselle's bit, which was the sexy swindler. People enjoy that. The cafe where everyone is talking about the plan towards getting them ready. We have the music and transition work very well. We have the bit with security guard's reaction was good, believable acting, and it was good for the storyline. The woman trying to trick the security guards, and start of it was quite serious and compelling. So we felt that the bits that actually worked best were the bits where we got to know our characters better, and therefore we felt that our audience got to know our characters better. What do you think could have been improved? We thought this question was really important. And despite what people said about The music, where 80% of them said it was good, the people that said no, it was not good, said the music and sound effects could have been improved. The directors could have given a more in-depth explanation of the plot. So that was for one of the people that said, did the film give you enough information? They said no to that. Nothing really. I enjoyed watching it. What else could have been improved? I don't really get the plot. The voiceover, which I think means the dubbing, and the dubbing. So one of our main things was dubbing. I completely agree with that. We had to dub every single scene because we had a lot of outdoor scenes where it was just impossible to get audio on them because we didn't have portable microphones. I felt most of the dubbing was very good, but there were quite a few lines where you could actually tell that the voice wasn't synchronized. I completely agree with that. Dubbing was could have been improved. More audience feedback. Stock characters, which they recognize. Every single person, 100% say they recognize the sexy swindler. So we subverted stereotype. We used a black woman instead of a white or Latino woman. It worked perfectly well. Everyone recognized them. 70% of people recognize the group leader, and 60% of people recognize the geek. 70% noticed the group leader. I guess during the table conversation, we could have included more of the group leader asking people, what would you like to do? What would you like to do? Was the costume appropriate? 100% of people said yes. So costume obviously was one of our main priorities because of the fact it was a financial heist, and that seemed to work very well. Lighting. 90% of people said the lighting was appropriate and sufficient. So that was very good as well. I think where the lighting could have been better was when we had an outdoor scene with the security guard and our sexy swindler. We could have used some form of maybe additional lighting to make it more obvious. And because we had to ultimately brighten up that image slightly in post-editing, which would have been nice to have the luxury of using lights if we had the equipment. Was the dialogue typical of a heist genre? 70% said yes. Maybe we could have included more humor, maybe we should have included less humor, but obviously most people did think it was typical of the genre. We had our planning scenes, but obviously there were a few people, 30% of them, which said no, it was not typical, and we would have liked to have known that if we had made that an open-ended question. Probably would have found out why. Did the dialogue allow you to follow the storyline easily? 80% of people said yes. So the storyline was easily followable for most people. Maybe if we had more audience feedback along the way, we may have been able to do edits and make the trailer easier to follow the storyline. It's good to hear that there are things that we can improve on, such as following the storyline and the dubbing. So in the end, we asked people to rate it out of 10. 30% of people rated it 9 or 10 out of 10, and most of them were from 6 out of 10 onwards. If we had the opportunity to get an old audience in, I think these scores would have been better, because it would have appealed to them more, because they were more of our target audience. But it's still good to see that almost everyone enjoyed it enough to rate it at least 7 out of 10. Audience feedback has allowed us to improve stuff, so in the future I would take more attention to dubbing, and in making sure the storyline is conveyed easily, maybe have more screenings along the way to ask people, do you get what's happening in the trailer up until now?